Hi, Danville. Alan Shields here, Chief of Police for the town, and we are 10-8 in service, which means we're here to make people's lives better. And we do that by safeguarding the lives, rights, and property of everyone we serve. We had a lot of crime this week, so we're going to go over that. We also had some tips in the chat from last week. People were wanting to know, because we usually report on the reported time for crime, but they kind of wanted to know at what time during the day crimes occurred. So we did our best to drill down. So you'll see a little bit of a format difference with our part one crime slide. And unfortunately, there was a lot of crime to go over. So you'll get some repeated slides in there where you get a lot of information. As always, we want to cover some of the topics here. Make sure you download the FEMA All Hazards Checklist. We're in week number 2 of going over this. We're highlighting the be prepared for a power outage. There's a lot of good tips in there for what you can do to protect yourself and be prepared prior to the event, how to survive during it, and then be safe after. Also, go to download the Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide. As it dries out, that's going to be a big problem this year. With all this rain, we're going to get a lot of growth. And so there's a lot of good tips in there on how to prepare your property, how to prepare your family, and whatnot. Also, sign up for the community warning system as well on the sheriff's website. There's a link down in the description. Go to the PG&E website. This is where you can get information and updates. If you have been affected by a power outage, frankly, it's the first place I go because I want to know when it's going to get turned back on, and they do continuously update the site. But there's also some prevention information there, and we'd encourage you to take a look at that. A lot of really cool tips in there, and there's, I had just noticed there's a guide for emergency preparedness for people with disabilities. So they're really covering a lot of bases there, and it's something you should take a look at. But the other 2 guides, just download them, throw them in a drawer, look at them with your family, and then move on to some of the other things. If you like content like this and you really want to take a really deep dive into what we do, we've got a good opportunity coming up in March, and that's our Citizens Academy, where you can come starting March 27th for 7 weeks, and that includes 2 Saturdays, but 7 Wednesdays, 3 hours a night, where you can learn about investigations and patrol, and we can take you on a couple of field trips where we take you out to our driving range, and we take you to the jail if they're able to give tours, and we have a good experience for you. And really what we're trying to take away is what can we do to better serve the town of Danville. Special treat this Friday coming up, really cool thing. It occurs quarterly, and that's our Town Talks with the mayor. There's going to be a lot of information. It's going to be a live stream, and there's going to be information about the downtown master plan. And so there's a lot of good information there. And there's even going to be an update from the police department there. And you're going to get to see Lieutenant Heather Transu. She will be there with our mayor, Karen Stepper. So join that. And if you don't get to join live, don't worry, because it'll be posted up on our YouTube channel afterwards as well. All right. As always, you can put your questions in the chat, and I will get to them during the show. If I can't get to them during the show, I'll get to them after. CommunityCrimeMap.com. This is where you can get information about crime happening in the area. And you can also get information about the Sexual Offender Registry. I'm going to cover the traffic accidents. We'll take a quick break to cover a couple of things in the chat, and then we'll go over to the crime. February 5th through the 12th, we had 1 injury accident, 2 property collisions, and 1 hit and run. On the 7th, we had an injury collision. This was on Highland Drive, and this is a vehicle that left the roadway, solo vehicle, which means it was only 1 vehicle involved hitting an object. On the 8th, we had a non-injury collision. That was on the 400 block of Front Street. Again, this was a solo vehicle into an object. And then on the 8th, we had a non-injury collision at Sycamore Valley Road and Grimbrick Drive, and this was between 2 vehicles. And then on the 10th, we had a non-injury hit and run on the 500 block of Danville Boulevard. Okay, so Lou, first off, thank you for reminding me that it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. And then he had a question. He asked, how much is the police academy? And the police academy costs no money to you. We just want your attendance, and it's all free to you. It's actually your advance paying it, I guess, with your taxes, right? Nothing in life is free. But it is a program that we put on as part of our outreach program, and it's to educate as many people as we possibly can about what our vision is, how we work to keep the community safe. And the hope is that the more informed the community is, then they can help us keep everyone safe. Because even when we get the little Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts in here, we ask them the question, who's responsible to keep Danville safe? And they're actually on the ball. More and more, we're getting the response that it's all of our responsibilities. And if you saw the Pelian principles at the beginning of the show, simply the police's role in that is we're the people that you pay to do it full time. So we're the professionals, but we're all vigilant. We're all looking for crime. We're all looking to report it, and we're all looking to say something if we see something. So Good point out there, Lou. All right, so on to the crime. So you see it's a little bit of a different format, and we're trying to pull some of the information that you have all requested. And so you'll see it is a little bit different. We had a lot of crime, though, so it's actually going to take me 3 slides to cover all the crime. Typically, a low crime week, you'll see maybe 2 to 4 reported Part 1 crimes. High would be 6 or 7 reported crimes. And we had, 13 reported crimes, and one of them was a robbery. So that's a very significant event. So we did have the one robbery. That's the one violent crime that we had, and the rest were in the non-violent crime, the property crimes we call them. We had 1 burglary, 10 thefts, and 1 vehicle theft. So on the 4th at 5:43, between 5:43 and on the between the 4th at 5:43 p.m. So overnight, and 7:46 a.m. at Castleford Circle, we had a stolen vehicle, and then overnight of the 4th to the 5th, we had a theft from a vehicle, and that was on Murica Court. On the 5th at between 2 in the morning and 10:56 in the morning, we had a catalytic converter theft from a Nissan, and that was on the 500 block of Morning Home Road. And then on the 5th at 5:51 p.m. on the dot, this is where we had the robbery, and that was at the Home Consignment Center. And that's the 3rd incident involving the Home Consignment Center. We had a previous robbery where people came in with hammers, stole merchandise. Then we had a burglary where the business was closed. And this one on the 5th was where the business was open for business. There were employees and customers in the store, and several people came in with hammers and broke the glass, stole jewelry, and fled. On the 5th, we had between the 5th and the 6th, overnight there, we had a theft of a license plate, and that was on the 300 block of Diablo Road. On the 6th at 12:47, we had a shoplifting, and that was at a business on the 80 block of Railroad Avenue. It's kind of in that Trader Joe's parking lot there. On the 6th at 12:04, we had another shoplift of a merchandise, and this one's interesting. So 9,000 block of Crocaine Road. What's interesting about it is sometimes you will see that we classify a shoplifting simply as a theft, and sometimes you'll see that we classify it as a burglary. And the difference being really is, could we prove the intent to commit the crime was there prior to entry? And so a lot of times when the officers go out and they investigate these crimes, they're going to look at how the crime was committed. Were they acting kind of in concert with other people? Did they bring specialized bags in with them? Did someone act as a lookout while other people did thieves? Did other people did the thieving? Did some people act as distractions? Like, so was there a distraction of a person and then they stole the purse? Any of those things that would indicate that there was some planning ahead of time to commit the theft would turn that theft into a burglary, which simply means that the people entered the business with the intent to commit the theft prior to entering that structure. All right, so on the 6th at 7 p.m., between the 6th and the 8th, we had a catalytic converter theft of another Nissan. So remember, the trend was for a while we were seeing them in the Toyota Prius, and both of these we saw on Nissans. And then we had 2 more shopliftings, one on the 400 block of Diablo Road on the 8th at 2:41, and then another one at the 100 block of Diablo Road at 8:36 p.m. It didn't appear to be related. We had another shoplifting on the 9th, and this is at 3:33 in the afternoon, and that was at the 500 block of San Ramon Valley Boulevard. And again, this is some clothing, and the store was open. We had a theft from a mailbox, and this occurred over a period of a couple of days between the 9th and the 11th on Monterey Drive. And then we had a theft of a wallet from a parked car. It appeared to be, it was unlocked and unoccupied at the time. And that was on the 11th at about 3:54. And that was at the 2100 block of Holbrook Drive. All right. That's a lot of crime. You can see some of it's petty. And this is why when we talk to the council and we talk to all of you, we try to give a clear picture as to what happens. Because just simply saying there were 13 reported Part 1 crimes doesn't really give you the whole story, right? In this case, a lot of petty crime kind of added to the volume of crime. But the reality is it was that one robbery that was really the kind of the big crime, the one that was, I guess, the scariest or kind of had the most hazard associated with it. So those are the ones that we tend to be most concerned with. So any of the violent crimes, and then I think the step down from there is the residential burglaries, and those are the ones that we tend to spend a lot of resources on. Here's the deal. What I don't want you to think is just because they're petty crimes that it's not something that we attack. So if we encourage everyone to report, which is actually why our stores report to us, because when we go, we don't simply blow the case off and say, oh, there's nothing that can be done. That is not our policy. That is not what we do. So if the store calls us and says $150 worth of merchandise was stolen, we're going to take the report. We're going to try to find video. We're going to try to solve the case. And that's the benefit for the officers that work here in Danville, is we have enough discretionary time throughout the day with which to follow up on cases, because our opinion is if we stop the people when they're committing these smaller crimes, they're not going to come back and commit bigger and bigger crimes. We don't want to be known for a place where crime is allowed to just be committed and we turn a blind eye to it. So the reason I'm telling you all that is kind of on that call to action side. Please, if you're a victim of crime, make sure you report it to us. We need to know what's happening. The statistics of where these crimes are occurring, when they're occurring, is how we drive enforcement. It's how we run our schedules. It's how we drive our problem-oriented police teams. It really does help us. So kudos to Danville, because you guys are doing a good job. I mean, theft of stuff from a mailbox, a lot of time that goes unreported. Theft of the shoplifting, again, a lot of times that goes unreported, but not here in Danville. All right, let's take a look at the arrest log. We've got a few arrests to talk about. On the 8th, we had a woman that was arrested for resisting arrest, and that was on the 400 block of Diablo Road, and she ended up being site released. On the 9th, there was an arrest of a man for possessing a dangerous drug, and that was on the 1900 block of Camino Ramon. He was also site released. On the 10th, we arrested a man for possessing a dangerous drug paraphernalia, and driving without a license. He was also site released. And then we arrested a man for driving under the influence of alcohol, and that person was booked in jail, and that was on the 12th. Site release. When do we site release? I think 10 years ago, had we arrested those people for drugs, the two people that we had arrested for dangerous drugs, they would have been booked right in jail. Ultimately, that was the punishment was reduced on simple possession of drugs. Possessing dangerous drugs like methamphetamines, cocaine, those were all reduced to misdemeanors. And misdemeanors, the default is we site release people. So if we arrest someone, even if it's right in front of your house and they're possessing rock cocaine or heroin or methamphetamine, if it's possession, simple possession, the default is we issue them a cite and we send them on their way. Now, the DUI, why would we book the person for DUI? DUI, there's specific sections in the penal code that state when we should book somebody or when we can book somebody. And that is if they're too intoxicated or if we believe the crime is going to continue, those sort of things. So there's some on the community caretaking side where we're actually going to go and book someone in. And that's why in this case, you saw, resisting arrest, a couple of drug arrests, those all get site released, but the drunk driver gets booked in this case. I just wanted to explain that in case there were any questions. All right, we are highlighting our FEMA All Hazards Guide, so I do want to cover the next one. What we're going to do over the next several weeks, we're just going to cover them in order. They're in alphabetical order. So first up, we're actually going to cover active shooter. We actually call it active threat. This is training that we can come out to your business, to your school, to any of your group, and we can provide. And what we like about the active threat training is we believe that although it was created for an active shooter environment, such that you might think of at a school or a mall or a movie cinema or church, it really can be applied to any incident where there's a potential for violent encounters. So you could be shopping at the mall, you could be at a park, you could be anywhere. And if you feel that there's about to be a violent encounter, the principles that we teach in active shooter and that you'll see in this FEMA All Hazards Guide will really work well. And we've covered them in detail in previous sections of 10.8, but I'm going to go over them again real quick. All right, so we teach run, hide, fight, and that's what's listed in the FEMA All Hazards Guide. And what I like about run, hide, fight, or sometimes we'll call it alert, avoid, and defend, or avoid, deny, defend, is that it has an element of preparation. And so that is if you see something that's out of the ordinary, you can say something. If there's an issue, then the best thing you can do is try to run away. If you can't run, you hide. If you can't hide, be prepared to fight. And what we like about it is it teaches a plan of action, but it's objectives based. It is, we need to make sure that we stop the trauma from happening, and then we save the people that have been traumatized. And so if you're in a violent encounter, the idea is separate yourself as far as you can, help as many people as you can, flee the area so that there aren't as many chances for you or someone else to be victimized or traumatized. All right, so what do we do for prepare now? And I'm not going to go over every word on the slide. I put the information up here, and the hope is if you really want to look, pause it, zoom in, and you can take a look. But there are several things you can do now. A lot of it is if you see something, say something. The other is to be familiar with your layout. And we will teach this. We'll teach, one single point of entry, like at a church. Have one point of entry, have several greeters. You've got your crossing guard. You've got your, hey, we're glad you're here person with the sign. All of those people they're really your volunteer lookouts, right? So they're going to be the ones that see something out of the ordinary. And what they're going to do is they're going to see something early and they're going to say something. If you have a single point of entry, you don't have 15 entry points. You can button up and secure your area pretty easy. But also you want to have lots of points where people can flee and get out. So if there is a hazard in an area, you want a lot of exit points. So single point of entry, lots of exit points. If you look, there's also good information on what you can do as far as where to hide. So if you think about your work location, just look around when you get there, look around your home. Where would you go if there was going to be a violent encounter? Where would you go while you're calling 911 to be safe? And then if something does happen, this is where run, hide, fight comes in. Again, if you can run away from the hazard while you're calling 911, please do that. If you can't, we recommend to hide. And while you're hiding, hiding isn't simply just ducking under a desk, but it is barricading the entrance, it's locking doors, it's putting as many things between the person wishing to do harm and yourself, and then get ready to fight. Use what you can to fight. And then what do you do afterwards? What can you expect from police? And we'll teach this a lot when we come, if you'd like us to come, make sure that when officers come, make sure your hands are visible and empty. Know that we're going to be there, but we're actually going to be there to stop the threat, and then we'll work on injured persons. So we may step past you if you're injured because we're looking for the person that's doing harm. And just follow our instructions and make sure that after that you look for seeking some sort of help for some of the long-term effects of the trauma. All right, I'm going to look, and I see another Happy Valentine's Day from Kim Yates. And then, Dina, thank you. I appreciate the comments on that. We'll try to smooth it out a little bit on the additional details on the crimes. If you have additional advice, you either put it in the chat, direct message, or email us. Putting this on is all about providing information to you. So if we can provide you additional information, we want to make sure that we're doing that. All right. And with that, I don't have anything else. I don't see anything in the chat, but you have a great opportunity to come up. Our mayor this year is Karen Stepper. You've got a good opportunity to come see her Friday, 10 o'clock. You can see Karen Stepper Friday the 16th, and she's going to give an update on the downtown master plan. And there's going to be a police update there. So please tune in for that. You can actually ask questions live during the event. She'll answer them, or one of the experts that she has there will answer them. So it should be a pretty good show. If you want to engage more with the police department, we've got a free to you event coming up, and that's our Citizens Academy, March 27th. And this is something where you can come and we will open the doors and you can see everything it is that we do. And we'd really love for you to touch things and see things and really get a look as to how we do what we do to keep everyone safe and what are some of the tools and techniques that we use. And then once you do that, the idea is you're going to provide us some feedback on what we can do better to serve the community. Go to the community warning system down at the Sheriff's Office website. The link is down in the description. Sign up for that. That's how we notify people when there's a hazard. Also, download the FEMA or the Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide. Visit the PG&E website and download the FEMA All Hazards Guide. All right, looks like that is all we have for tonight. I want to say thank you to all of you that joined. Thank you to all of you that watch after. And I appreciate all of you. And we're 10-10, but we're always 10-8 and in service to all of you. Have a good night, Danville.